KWT slaying.
Greetings, Israel. This is another episode of TeotwRadio, where we talk about events that affect the family and our soon return home, the second Exodus. I have with me today Minister Yakoba. How you doing, Minister Yakoba?
Salama, family, salama.
All right, so the first thing we want to talk about is the whole COVID-19 pandemic. This is a game changer event. Minister Yakoba, what's your opinion about this event here?
Well, one thing I want to let the family know, we're going to refer to the vax as health injections. Okay, so make sure you substitute that when we're having this discussion. As I did in one of my previous videos, I discussed how, in our opinion, the release of this particular virus is a first volley of World War III. Now, I think the biggest thing is we cannot go with the idea that these guys are true enemies. Okay, we believe that a dialectic is happening, and that doesn't mean that they won't go to war, because it's all about what you're trying to achieve. Okay, so as I mentioned before in the previous videos, things are never going back to the way they were. And if you expect things to go back to the way they were, you're surely deceiving yourself. It will never be the same. Just like after 911, things weren't the same. This will never be the same again. Things are going to become worse. We're going to have famine, war, pestilence, all the things, the scriptures talk about. We're going to get to the point where people break into your homes to get food and water, especially here in Babylon. We're going to have some decisions that need to be made. How we take care of our families, how we work together until the Most High comes and delivers us from this place.
So, Minister Yakoba and I are old enough to actually know when China became, started being geared to being a superpower. I mean, China was a third world power with no hope of becoming a mega superpower, right? Why is that? That is because, they have the same situation as Africa, which is a high population and not enough talented resources, not enough technology to get them up to speed. So what happened? The United States, the global empire, invested in China as the new manufacturing hub for everything. So that was an investment into taking China from third world status to first world status. So they were created. So the fact that they were created raises the question, well, was this whole event in Wuhan an accident, or was it coordinated? Because they actually shut down the world empire, the world system, the world financial network. Was that a coincidence? And is it true that China and the European powers are actually enemies, or were they actually created? Right? Because if you watch the history, the overthrow of Mao Tse-tung, I think that was his name, right? When they overthrew him, the Communist Party were backed by the European powers. So if they were back to overthrow, if Mao Tse-tung was back to overthrow the previous leader, I can't remember his name right now. On the tip of my tongue. But if Mao Tse-tung, the first leader of the Communist Empire, if he was uh, supported by the European powers, is the Communist Party today also supported by the European powers? Right? Why would you invest in China in its economic empire with European money when all throughout the 20th century anything communist was an enemy? Minister Yacoba, you have any input on that?
Well, I believe it. What was it? I think Chairman Mao, wasn't he the? I think the first leader of the Communist Party, I believe, um, or the chairman of the Communist Party. I think he was, right, Chairman Mao. Anyway, when it comes to the dialectics that's being played, we have to understand that Britain was in control of China and definitely in control of Hong Kong. Now, when Hong Kong was handed over in 1997, people was concerned because the Western powers were handing over Hong Kong to the Communist Chinese. Now, the question we have to ask ourselves, what was the plan and the agreement made for this handover? Because right now they want to give us the image that China is our enemy. Now the question is, why would you allow the Communist Chinese to become a world superpower? Because they want to act like they're surprised, especially if you hear a lot of the right wing pundits. They're going to make it sound like it's the Chi Coms, right? And how the Chi Coms are our worst enemy and that we must defeat the Chi Coms. But yet, the Western powers, America included, right, put the Chi Coms in power, sent all of our manufacturing to China to make China a world superpower. Our president owes Trump, our President Trump owes China over what I believe is $215 million for one of the investments in one of these skyscrapers. Is the China Bank, which is owned by the Communist Chinese. The question is, why would America allow the Communist Chinese to have such an influence in America and around the world and not resist it? Why would American and Western powers allow China to go into Africa and put in so much investment within the infrastructure? Now, we need to talk about that as well as why the Chinese are in Africa and why they're investing so heavily in Africa. Do they want to be the Africans' friends? No, because we have no friends. So,
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I was actually muted there, but it was Mao Tse-tung. Um, and I think the leader he overthrew was Chai King Shek, something like that. I think is how you pronounce it. Um, and with the help of the United States, basically Chai King Shek was expecting some supplies from the European powers, and they failed to deliver the supplies, and so he didn't have the necessary supplies to win the war against the communists, and the communists took over. Um, so they, if you understand that history, then is China today an independent power, or is China something that was created, right, for a transition of power for the world government? And I tend to believe that they were stood up to be the next world power, right? Because the ruling class, the European powers, they don't have any loyalty except to themselves. Um, but this is important because Wuhan. The question is the incident in Wuhan something that's meant for global change, or was it an accident?
And that's the other thing, right? When you look at this whole incident with the Wuhan, um, and the reason we're going to say it this way, family, you understand why. The reason for the Wuhan V, just to make sure we have understanding, um, we got to look at who benefits from this pestilence. Who benefits whereby the world shuts down? Because we all know this is a bioweapon. Okay, we know this. Now the question is who released it. Okay, now many believe it's the Chicoms. Others believe it was, aka Babylon, the U.S. So the question we have to ask ourselves: could it be both? Because both the United States and China benefit from this pandemic. Okay, they both get global influence and global control, and that's why you see China, having billions of dollars and investing in many nations around the world, creating the Silk Road, right, creating that influence and infrastructure in Eastern Europe and parts of what we call, uh, you know, the Middle East, okay, or the Central Asia. So the question we have to ask ourselves: are they working together? Is all of this a dialectic? Because we see who benefits from this virus or V. We know who benefits from it. We know who's benefiting from it. Now, let's look at China before all of this happened. Global superpower, they became a global superpower. China also global manufacturing hub. So commerce-wise, they were getting close in parity to the U.S. in terms of monetary influence. Okay, so now we have this pandemic that shuts down both the U.S. and it shuts down China. Now, you would think that they wouldn't want to harm themselves, but the question is, what are they trying to achieve? What is their end goal? Right? Because remember, China had this social infrastructure, right, where they had this social app that keeps track of their citizens to say whether or not you can fly, you can take public transportation. If your social credit score was low, you couldn't take public transportation, you couldn't fly, you couldn't drive, you didn't get the benefits of the Communist Party government. Okay, so now we see a similar thing that they want to do here. They want to accomplish within America. Now, remember, this particular bioweapon shut down the entire planet. It shut down the entire planet. Every nation has been affected, which means the goal is to affect every country. Okay, now, what are they trying to achieve globally? That's the question. Why are they having us in our homes? Okay, don't believe what you hear on the evening news because all of that is propaganda. Look at who benefits and look at what they're trying to achieve. And we'll see some of the things, especially what Bill Gates is doing with this pandemic.
Okay, so we're going to look at some articles that'll uh, give you some more information on where we're headed. Um, Personally, I do believe that the trigger for this pandemic, the trigger for this event to be executed was the awakening of the Hebrew Israelites, right? Because I used to say to my brother, well, they already have a world government. They already control everything. They have one world currency, which is the U.S. dollar. They have one world language, which is the English language. Every nation has to spend that money. Every nation has to speak that language every nation has to fall in line with the will of the European powers. So there's already an existing European power. What they didn't have was they hadn't removed the facade of liberty for all, right? Which is the concept of democracy. We're moving into a phase now where they want a new form of government that's not democratic. You're going to surrender your rights for security, right? That's the plan here. But it was the awakening of Israel that triggered it because they already had a system in place. So why didn't they execute this plan earlier? But immediately after the awakening, boom, they just shut the whole world down. Okay?
And I'd like to comment on that, Minister Till, because I agree with you 100% that the awakening of the Israelites, the end of the 400-year captivity, is what sparked them to move now. And the reason being is, okay, now they have to persecute us. Because one thing they want, not one thing, there's probably many things, but one of the main things they want is Africa. They want all of the resources, all of the land, and they want all of the black folks exterminated from off the planet. Okay? All of the Israelites exterminated from the planet. Remember the Georgia Guidestones. Most of that is us. Now, granted, they want to get rid of some of the other people as well. Don't get me wrong. But the goal is to deal with those who have been scattered amongst every hill, every nation. Okay, those sheep that were scattered on every hill, according to the scriptures, those sheep that were scattered into every nation, that is who they're after, which is why we see in Revelation chapter 12, right before the woman is rescued and brought into the wilderness, the dragon is chasing her. That's what I believe is happening now, is that the dragon, which is the Roman Empire system, which I believe controls the whole world, which I believe controls China, right? Was chasing the woman. Now, most of our people have no idea what's going on. And we're going to get into what's happening in Africa as well, because in China, because I believe that the persecution that you see the few in China is a test case to see if the world will wink at them persecuting the true Israelites based upon COVID as a reason. Okay, they always do their little test cases, and I think that's what's happening there in China, and why the Chinese keep doing it, and the Africans are ignoring it because some of those leaders are involved in it as well.
Okay, so we're going to go look at some additional information. Let's see. So here we have ID 2020. ID 2020 and partners launch program to provide digital ID with vaccine. The ID 2020 Alliance has launched a new digital identity program at its annual summit in New York in collaboration with the government of Bangladesh, Vaccine Alliance Gavi, and new partners in government, academia, and humanitarian relief. The program to leverage immunization as an opportunity to establish digital identity was unveiled by ID 2020 in partnership with the Bangladesh government's Access to Information program, the Directorate General of Health Services, and Gavi, according to the announcement. Digital identity is a computerized record of who a person is, stored in a registry. It is used in this case to keep track of who has received vaccinations. We are implementing a forward-looking approach to digital identity that gives individuals control over their own personal information while still building off existing systems and programs, says Anir Chowdhury, policy advisor at A2I. The government of Bangladesh recognizes that the design of digital identity systems carries far-reaching implications for individuals' access to services and livelihoods, and we are eager to pioneer this approach. Gavi CEO Seth Berkley says that 89% of children and adolescents who do not have identification live in countries where the organization is active. We are enthusiastic about the potential impact of this program. not just in Bangladesh, but at something we can replicate across Gavi-eligible countries, providing a viable route to closing the identity gap, he said. So, Minister Yacoba, do you want to follow up on that?
So as you can see, ID 2020 is tied to biometrics, is tied to tracking, is tied to vaccinations. Now, many of us who are born again, who understand the Word of God, can understand how this ties into the mark of the beast. Now, what I'm going to say right here is based upon Teo's timeline, okay, not traditional eschatology timelines that you hear from many people today. Okay, so many people are going to tell you that the Antichrist is about to rise right now because of the mark of the beast. I'm not saying that the mark of the beast isn't in its adolescent stage where it's forming right now, right? That the Antichrist is going to use. I'm of the opinion, and I'm not saying I'm correct because I'm not God. This is my opinion that the Antichrist himself cannot be about to rise. And the reasoning for that is my understanding of what's supposed to happen next, which is the second Exodus. We go into the wilderness, and then we go back to Zion. Then sometime later on, we are attacked, okay, by Gog and Magog, right? And then Jesus comes back, and we see in Revelation he deals with the Antichrist, and the false prophet throws him into the lake of fire. So, timing wise, I don't see how this can be what we see in Revelation 13. Not saying that that God may not consider it the mark of the beast if they were to implement it today, right? Because as I mentioned in previous teachings, many things in the scriptures can be over generations, right? It could be over centuries, right? So this could just be the beginning stages of this high technological slave beast system that lasts for centuries. But Israel is going to be back in the land, okay? In my opinion, when the mark of the beast truly comes out. Now, does that mean you could take this vaccine? Does that mean you can take this chip implant? For me in my house, no. Okay, you make your own decisions. But for me in my house, no. Because it could be the mark of the beast, and you don't want to risk your life on something like that. Now, one thing we do know is that this is a stepping stone at minimum towards the mark of the beast. Okay, it's a bit obvious. Okay, and they know what they're doing.
Yeah, so we live in interesting times. We see the scripture coming to pass, and but as Minister Yacoba said, I don't think it's going to be fully implemented until after Israel is back in their home. But we also have some additional information here concerning Bill Gates. Let's look at that. So Bill Gates of Microsoft, he has a patent, many call Patent 666, and microchipping. So from this article, they sort of tone it down a bit as far as the reasoning behind it, but it's the technology that's important. So let me read this to you. Microsoft files Patent 666, leading conspiracy theorists and anti-Bill Gates internet sleuths to draw conclusions about the coronavirus's origin. There are corners of the internet that are very upset about Microsoft filing Patent 666 to microchip humans. The growing narrative implies that Bill Gates and a number of other people in the tech community are working together on a new world order. Okay, the new world order is not a conspiracy. It's been admitted to by many powerful people, including George Bush Sr., one of the Rockefellers, right? So it's been admitted. Henry Kissinger. It's been admitted many times. Okay? Conspiracy theories surrounding Bill Gates have been a huge part of the news cycle, especially amidst coronavirus fears. One such theory stems from a TED video featuring the former richest man in America explaining his fears of an imminent pandemic and how ill-equipped we are to handle it. The The video was from 2015, so it's not coincidental anyway. But he could win the lottery if he could call this kind of stuff out. The video was from 2015, so the coincidental nature of the events that have transpired since led some people to believe Gates is responsible for the outbreak, citing his connection to Microsoft and the multitude of conspiracy theories purporting that a group of tech leaders aim to create a global surveillance network that subjugates civilians by planting tracking chips inside them. Parts of the internet are convinced a recent patent filing proves these ideas to be true. The new patent, WOWO 2020 606060, published as WO 2020 060606, has conspiracy theorists buzzing. As this news makes the rounds online, people are referring to it as Patent 666 or World Order 2020 666. The going argument is not only did Bill Gates and Microsoft conspire to unleash COVID-19, but they're also going to step in with the cure. They'll have a hand in a vaccine that everyone will willfully take to be rid of coronavirus fears, but it will secretly microchip them, allowing Gates and company to track everyone. Since the title on the patent clearly reads cryptocurrency system using body activity data, this is evidence that Bill's plans, the microchip theory, and the planned release of COVID-19 are all very real. The details of Patent 666. Microsoft's new patent is about mining cryptocurrency. The patent allows for the creation of a device that tracks a human's physical activity or reactions to certain tasks using a variety of sensors and generates cryptocurrency in response. Furthermore, it patents a network that can give specific instructions to humans wearing the device. In English, Microsoft is looking into something like a cross between folding at home and Fitbit that connects to a cloud and rewards people for certain tasks while also mining for Bitcoin. It's unlikely, or as likely, to be a harbinger of the New World Order as any cryptocurrency. None of this means Microsoft will ever build this device because companies literally patent things on a daily basis as a just-in case. It's worth considering Microsoft currently hasn't shipped a wearable device since it abandoned the Microsoft Band 2 in 2015, and that Bill Gates doesn't even work there anymore. And so if I go to this tab here, here's an example of the patent, right? Publication number, as they said, 666, on March 26th. So at the point of this coronavirus outbreak, they have this technology to inject you with. Okay, Minister Yacoba, what do you think about that?
So, if anyone thinks this is a coincidence that even the patent number has 3 6s in it, I mean, I'm sorry for you if you think it's a coincidence, right? These people know the scriptures, right? They know that they're on the side of Satan, and therefore they're pursuing that agenda, which is this global system for their quote unquote serpent messiah. Okay, now what we see here as well is that this particular technology tracks everything you do and rewards you based upon those things that you do. So who determines on what criteria you are rewarded and under which criteria you are not rewarded? Okay, sounds like similar to the social credit system that the Chinese have, but with the fact that you're going to have a vaccine or a chip floating in your veins. Okay, so now you can see the beginning stages of this stuff, started with just the microchip implants that happened in Sweden and some other places. Now, even if you weren't a believer, right, in the scriptures, you would know that, or you should know, that a chip implant that's being tracked, right, means you are chained. And if you're rewarded and punished based upon certain criteria, then you are a slave, Neo. Okay? You are a slave. Now, in my opinion, this technology is mainly for Israel because according to Pope Nicholas, right, Pope Nicholas IV, the one who put Israel into perpetual slavery, they plan on us being perpetual slaves. The thing is, we are at the end of our 400-year captivity. All of a sudden, this technology of tracking and controlling masses of people is released. Okay? Don't think it is a coincidence that this technology is being released. Now, I'm of the opinion that, and I could be wrong, that this is leading up to the mark of the beast, but is not the mark of the beast. Does not mean you should take it. Does not mean you should get vaxxed or health injected. Does not mean you should get health injected. Okay? So you need to understand what's happening here. We are at the end times, but it's not going to play out like the Left Behind series. There is no pre-trib rapture, okay? There is, and in my opinion, even the Antichrist is not about to show up, okay? Maybe there will be an Antichrist, but not the Antichrist. That's just my opinion, okay? Now, you go and study the scriptures, come up with your own, but we have reasoning for our belief.
So, Minister Yacoba, how does the Chinese rewarding system tie into this, if at all?
Well, I think the Chinese social credit system was the beginning of this because, as you saw from that previous article you had, it's similar to Fitbit. It tracks and see everything you do. And according to the article, it rewards you. All right. Now, if it rewards you and gives you cryptocurrencies for good things you do, then on the reverse, it's going to negate your money or whatever you have in cryptocurrencies for the things that you do incorrectly. Because by definition, if I'm rewarding you for something good, I'm going to hurt you for something bad, right? If you're doing something bad, I'm going to hit you on your knuckles, okay? So it's a system of control, just like the social credit system. The social credit system, you could not travel, right? You could not take trains and planes and automobiles, right? You couldn't do it. So it's all leading up to the mark of the beast, where no one will be able to buy, trade, or sell unless he has the mark, his name, or the number of his name. Now, note, the scripture states in the Greek that it is chi z stigma, to stick or to prick, denoting ownership. They will own you. You are another resource that is going to be part of what they call what they call that, Minister Teo, where they track every resource and refrigerator and all these things.
Internet
IoT,
of Things.
Internet of Things. You're just going to be another one of the objects, a part of the Internet of Things, which is the true reason of why they're bringing out 5G, because 4G cannot manage all of the bandwidth of items and people that are going to be tracked. That is why they're releasing 5G now. Now, maybe it can be a crowd control weapon as well, I'm sure, right? But the main reason is that you're going to be a part of the Internet of Things, and you're going to be like the Borg in Star Trek. That is what they want. You're going to have a vaccine or, whatever, injected into you. You can have something injected into you with chips that's going to track your every movement. From this particular patent, that's what they say. And it's tied to cryptocurrency, which means buying, trading, and selling. Okay? It's obvious where we're at. Now, from my opinion, okay, this is also tied to how the Gentiles are going to be controlled. Because remember, that final system is a Gentile system. The statue of Daniel are all Gentile world kingdoms and all kingdoms that enslaved Israel. Okay, so now this final kingdom, right? This final kingdom is one that has enslaved Israel as well, which is meant to continuously enslave us. That is in my opinion, the main goal of this technology is the continuing perpetual enslavement of Israel. Okay? what the Bible calls the mark of the beast, where no man can buy, trade, or sell unless he have the mark, his name, or the number of his name. Now, like I mentioned, I don't believe the Antichrist is coming yet. That's my opinion. I could be wrong.
Well, yeah, they want to control everyone, specifically Israel, but they do have a special plan for Africa, and I think that'll be the next topic. But they do have a plan to cut back on the population of Africa. They've been trying to do that with Ebola and AIDS, and we have a problem where it can only be solved by the diaspora going home. And I mean those who came as slaves and those who went out for looking for better opportunities, right? I think if you don't go back and build up, use your skills and your knowledge and your talent to turn Africa into a competing world power, we're done. We're cooked like a overcooked chicken. We're done. Right?
So that's one thing I wanted to say as well, Minister Teo, is that if it was not for the Most High, we are screwed. We are done. We are finished, because these people have been planning our demise for generations, for centuries. And now they have this global world system, global power structure, global army, where they can go and grab every single one of the descendants of Jacob. This is the goal. Okay, and if the Most High did not step in, we will be done, because we have nothing but traitors, many traitors in Africa, because they're scared of the European powers, because a lot of them got assassinated. When they tried to be Pan-Africanists, they got taken out. Okay, so people don't understand what's happening, right? And as I mentioned before, there's no way we're going back to normalcy. Right. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, the good thing is, the fact that we see that second Exodus on the horizon means that this plan will fail. But it doesn't mean that there isn't a plan, right? They have a plan. The Most High has a plan. So personally, and it's just my feeling on the matter, I think there's going to be a huge change in leadership throughout the whole continent of Africa. And I think that's going to set the stage, for the complete return of Israel globally. I don't think the current leadership will allow, be part of that, since they owe the Chinese and the Europeans. They are indebted to them. So I think it'll be a new leadership that will rise. But that's just my opinion. I'm not prophesying anything. But let's look at some additional information. So what we have here, the Westerners, what do they mean when they say Africa is overpopulated? For quite some time now, anytime the topic of overpopulation comes to the forefront, many people automatically think about Africa due to the consistency with which the media has associated the continent with that narrative. Why not Europe? UK's Prince William once said Africa's rapidly growing human population is predicted to more than double by 2050, a staggering increase of 3.5 million people per month. There is no question that this increase puts wildlife and habitat under enormous pressure. Urbanization, infrastructure, development, cultivation, all good things in themselves, but they will have a terrible impact unless we begin to plan and to take measures now. The fact of the matter is that the whole of Africa, a continent made up of 54 countries, has always been reduced to just a country like you have seen in the above quote, and used to present issue at the international front or its collective data compared with individual countries in Europe, with wrong conclusions drawn for mischievous purposes. This deliberate practice has gone on for a long time now. If we address issues with the right image of African countries in comparison with the right image of European countries, there will be a lot of lapse left to ponder over. Let's take a look at the following argument. The Democratic Republic of Congo is 5 times bigger than the whole of France. With France as small as it is, have almost the same population size with the DRC, which is about 67 million as of 2016. If we want to raise the argument of overpopulation, which among the two falls in that bracket. Second, the land size of the United Kingdom UK is smaller than that of Gabon as an individual country detached from the remaining 53 African countries. However, UK has a population of more than 60 million people residing in the country relative to Gabon's population of just over 1.5 million. Moreover, a micro country like Belgium, with just over 30,000 kilometers square, 167 times smaller than Congo, has a population of 11 million people. It is irrefutably true that Africa recorded a surge in population over the years, but it is a warped logic, if not a complete fallacy, to strike a comparison between the population rate of Africa as used in the right census of 54 countries and these individual European countries and draw a conclusion that the former is overpopulated. Funny enough, philanthropists and population experts from these overpopulated countries troop into Africa all under the guise of helping Africa to plan and manage population growth, and we embrace their expert knowledge. Is it time where we reinitiate these conversations to help deal with these false beliefs that the continent has been targeted with many forced to swallow over the years? Mr. Yacoba.
So once again, we know that Africa is the target. Africa is overpopulated because Africa has too many Negroes. Okay, Africa is overpopulated because Africa has too many blacks. Africa is overpopulated because Africa has a bunch of resources that the Europeans and other nations like China wants. Okay, and so now, we still have the original colonialists occupying Africa, even though we have black faces running many of these countries. And now you have China, who's the oncoming new world power, trying to get their foothold in there through economic means.
Okay. So the problem with what's going on in Africa is that colonization has never left. Okay, and the leaders that try to free the African uh, the African citizens from the hand of colonialists, they were removed. Right, so the leadership today had to fall in line with the European powers and basically give away the resources in order to stay in power. Um, the good thing is the information is being exchanged quickly now, so the population can get abreast of what's really going on. We see that China and the European powers intend to have another Berlin conference. Really, I think they all intend to divvy up Africa for themselves and remove the blacks. Okay, and one strategy I see that the Chinese are using, since they are overly populated, is China is bringing in their extra populace that didn't have opportunity and moving them to Africa and letting them intermarry so they can have a claim to the land, so they can have a claim to the resources. So in the next 50 years, Africa will have a huge section dominated by Chinese or half Chinese people. Okay. Now the interesting thing is that how China is really uh, treating blacks in China right now less than human, right, under the guise of bringing COVID into China. Now, COVID was created, right? COVID was created by the Chinese in Wuhan, but they changing the narrative to make it a black problem like everyone else does. They use false statistics and false information and disinformation to once again paint the Negro as the problem, whatever the problem is, right? They apply it to the Negro. Now, it's pretty sad when the Chinese government trying to woo Africa, right? Trying to get its resources, trying to add infrastructure to Africa. But when the Negroes that are in China want to go shopping or they want to go out, they're beat up. They're accused of having COVID when they don't. They're mistreated. They're not allowed to stay in hotels. Now, this is by a government that's trying to show its best side to Africa. So your best side is to beat up the people that you want to win over so you can steal their resources. Your best effort is to beat them up in Africa, build up some infrastructure. Beat them up in China, but build up infrastructure in Africa. And then say it wasn't me. It's like Eddie Murphy. You ever seen Eddie Murphy stand up? And the woman said, "I saw you cheating." And he said it wasn't me. And she said, "I saw you with my own eyes." He said it wasn't me. She said, "Well, maybe it wasn't you." I like to use that example because that's how a lot of people are. That's how the African leadership is when it comes to Africa mistreating the Chinese, right? So the African leader's like, "Well, maybe it wasn't you. I know I saw you on video, but maybe it wasn't you that was doing it." Minister Yacoba.
So the thing is this: no one likes the quote unquote what we call African, especially the Bantu, who are the true Hebrew Israelites of the Bible. We have no friends. And my message is to my African brothers and sisters out there, aka Hebrew Israelites, Bantu tribes. Stop trusting people who don't look like you. Stop trusting people who come in there with gifts. It's like the little boy who walking down the street and a pedophile comes up with some candy and say, "Hey, little boy, come here." He does not have your best interests at heart. People don't give you nothing for free. Why do you think Bill Gates wants to come in there and help Africa with vaccinations? He loves you so much. He wants to help you with health injections, right? Why do you think he wants to do that? Because he loves Africans? He's such a good guy? No, because he want to handle business, if you know what I mean, and make sure there's not another black face on the continent. That's what they want.
Isn't he the same guy that said that Africa's overpopulated?
Exactly.
So if he thinks Africa is overpopulated, then why would he want to help Africa? You got to ask those questions.
Yeah. Stop being the sheep that you are, because we all are sheep, okay? That's not necessarily a bad thing. The thing is, who's your shepherd? That's the thing. Yeshua is our shepherd. Now, here's the problem I have with a lot of Bantu Israelites, okay? Especially you all with your YouTube channel out there, okay? You all know, some of you all know who we are. You know we Israel, okay? But you don't want to talk about it. But the deliverance is going to come from people awakening, both Jew and Gentile, to who you are, because they're going to be scared to touch God's anointed. So long as they think you're the backwater people swinging from trees, living in huts, right? Then they say you're no good but to be exterminated because you don't accomplish anything and you don't provide anything. Your history has been whitewashed. Your history has been taken away from you. All the greatness, all the goodness, it has been hidden. And the world only thinks that you are a parasite. You need to wake up to who you are, Bantu Israelites, to who you are and who your Messiah is. Not this African ancestry stuff that some of y'all move into. Okay, your deliverance comes from recognizing who your Messiah is, which is Yeshua, for recognizing who you are. Why do you think they hate you so much? Why does the black man, no matter what country he goes to, that they hate you? You think it's because you're black. You point at your blackness, but they don't hate the black Indian from India, but they hate you. It's because of who you are. It's because of the promises to you and your people. Now, you all need to spread the word to who you are, and you need to spread the word that these people are your enemies. Don't let them in your house. Okay? These are the same people that colonized Africa, divided the land, as the scripture says, that they would do this. The scripture says they would divide God's land. They did it. They divided Africa. That's who it is. Who divided Africa? Your enemies, the same ones that cut your limbs off. Your enemies, the same ones that took your people and spread them around the world as slaves. You don't think they're your enemies? You don't think the descendants of these people are your enemies? The ones who shooting African Americans, which you call us, in the streets today, but yet they want to come and help you get vaccinated? Oh, let me stop again. Health injections? Stop trusting these people. Y'all need to rise up. Y'all need to handle business and get all foreigners off the continent. I'm telling you, get all foreigners off the continent. Then stabilize the continent with your people. Then you can let some back in. Until then, handle your business. I'm telling you, because it's life and death.
Well, they need to get educated. Those of you who actually know the history, right? Who know the history of what happened in the continent, who know the history of what happened to us who are in the diaspora, who know. You need to share that with the younger people. I see those who are in their 30s that don't know about slavery or don't understand the abuse that happened to us during slavery. They don't even know about what happened to the Congolese and getting their limbs cut off and castrated. They don't know any of that. And that's in Africa. Okay, so one thing that needs to happen is going forward, those of you who are in the continent today, you really need to educate your young people on the history and why all of these nations hate them, but yet these nations want access to their land. We're in a situation, family, right now where if those in Africa do not unite with those in the diaspora, we're going to lose. Now, I do trust that the Most High is going to fix it because we know about the second Exodus. But I'm just saying, in the natural, Africa is in a situation where they would lose. Okay, without unity, unity is will be the last way to defeat this system. Now, yes, the Most High is going to make this work out. You're going to see something major happen where it all falls into place. And personally, for some reason, I feel what's going to happen is there's going to be a shift in leadership in Africa, and then the diaspora is going to flood back. That's what I think is going to happen. But that's my opinion. Okay. Minister Yacoba, what I wanted to do is show that Chinese video, but did you have anything else?
Well, I just want to emphasize that none of these countries, not a single one, not an iota, are your friends. They're not your friends. None of them. If they're not Bantu, they're not your friends. Don't think they are. I know you all must think we're extreme. We're trying to warn you. We've been dealing with these people for over 400 years. We know, okay? You all need to wake up and we have to unite. Now, if it wasn't for the scriptures, if it wasn't for Ezekiel chapter 37 that says we're going to become one nation again, I would think we would be wiped off the planet. That's how dire it is. I'm telling you, don't play with these people. Don't take their money. We don't need it. We don't need it. But let's go ahead and show that.
Okay. So this is how the Chinese view the black man. We're going over there like things have changed, and this was in 2017. So it makes sense why they beat you when you're there, kick you in the street, and accuse you of having a virus that they created. But this is a comparison of black Africans to animals. And this was in a museum in China.
I have a dream. I want to go to the other country to work.
Now, these are your friends, or do they have an agenda?
But I know America do not give me the chance to have the opportunity. I want to learn the other things.
So do you think these people want to come over there and help you in Africa and build up your nation? Or do you think they want to build those roads and those bridges and everything so that they can come and take it over? There's over 10 million Chinese in Africa right now. Do you think they plan on going back to a overcrowded China? I don't think so.
Imagine from their perspective,
Enough money, so I must work.
Africa. Hold on. So my question is, if this is a group of people that compare you to animals, are they really trying to be an ally with you, or is there something more strategic going on? I mean, from an overpopulated nation like China, imagine thinking that one day you can have access to this vast land of resources, its greenery, its plants. They don't have that in Africa. They got a lot of mountains and hills and things, right? I mean, I'm sorry, they don't have that in China, right? But in Africa, unlimited resources, unlimited food supply, wide open spaces that like China doesn't have. China's overpopulated, so you're going to have more and more Chinese of those multi-billions that are in China coming over in Africa thinking this is going to be my land. I'm going to build a new empire here, right? While the Negro in Africa either is going to be a servant to them in the colonialists, or they're going to be removed. You have to think about that, right? This is an important era for the Negro, and I do believe that the Most High is with us. I do believe the second Exodus, however that's going to manifest, is the key to us winning. But Minister Yakoba, I'm gonna pass it on to you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to this, and we're going to talk about the potential for World War III that we think may be arising as well, that you should be concerned about, but also ties into our Exodus. So just to give you notice, family, that the situation in the Middle East and also in China is leading to some type of conflict. Trump instructs U.S. Navy to shoot and destroy Iranian ships harassing U.S. ships. Now, as you know from my studies, one of the major things to look at is Iran and their conflict in the Middle East, aka Syria, which I believe to be, according to the information we have right now, Iraq. And so there's going to be a confrontation, really, from what I see from 2nd Ezra 15, between Arabia and Iran, which would include probably Israel and America along with Saudi Arabia, which is why, according to 2nd Ezra, you see, Iran or Persia losing. And at that point, when Persia is about to lose, help from China, which 2nd Ezra is called Asia, and probably Russia as well, and many of their allies come to help them. So the thing is, as I mentioned, I think a lot of this stuff is a dialectical process. Now, what I mean by that is I think in the overall goal for the New World Order and the elimination of the true Israelites, they're all in one accord. And I think the way you accomplish that, and without the risk of taking out their own, is world war, right? Because you can't let like a more virulent strain of the quote unquote virus hit the world that you can't control, because it might hit you and take you out. But in the past, reducing of the world population happened with World War I and World War II, and as you know, World War III will be on a bigger scale. So we have to take note that before we leave from around the world, from the lands of our captivity, world war is coming as well. So Rouhani tells Iran's military to remain vigilant after threats exchanged with the U.S. So we see that the U.S. is turning up the heat. Iran is pretty much standing their ground. Everything is ripe for this world war, this plague of war. And for those who haven't seen my teachings on it, go read Second Ezra 15. That pretty much tells the conflict between the Caramanians, which is the Iranians, and Asia and Arabia. Also, you have Jeremiah 50:51, which talks about Babylon's destruction by the Persians and their allies. So in this article, Australia joins U.S. ships in South China Sea amid rising tensions. So this has been heating up in the South China Sea. According to a lot of these articles, China has been flexing their muscles in the South China Sea, intimidating some of the other nations. And so the U.S. and their allies are pretty much making use of the international waterways to show that, hey, we can get here anytime and, handle business. As I mentioned, I think this is all by design. I think they are all in cahoots with one another. And we know from the scriptures, there's going to be a plague of war. But the destruction of Babylon comes from the 10. The 10 shall hate the whore and burn her with fire. God puts in their heart to fulfill his will. So something's going to happen, where the 10 go against the whore. The thing is, I don't believe that it's going to be soon, right? I mean, from what I see, even after we leave America, aka Babylon, probably going to stick around a little while, even after we leave. That's what I see. Not saying I'm 100% correct, but that's what I'm seeing. And the final article we're going to talk about is 2 Russian spy planes intercepted by U.S. fighter jets near Alaska. So Russia has been testing our defenses for a few months now, just like we do to them. So this thing is still heating up. Sooner or later somebody's going to do something, and it's going to get hot. And once it goes hot, it probably won't cool down. Now, the thing is this: when World War III kicks off, you think it's bad under COVID, but it's going to be worse under this World War III scenario, because everything going to be locked down. You're going to have famine. You won't be able to travel too much. I mean, we can't travel now, but it's really going to end up being bad. And unless the Most High stepped in, my fear is, as I mentioned before, is that all of this is really geared towards us. It's really the dragon coming and chasing the woman. And that's why the Most High comes to deliver us. That's why the second Exodus kicks off, because it's the end of our captivity. They know it, which means it's the end of their rulership. So they want to do everything they can to take us out. But Revelation 12 shows that the dragon comes after the woman and she flees into the wilderness on the wings of eagles. And I have a study on that called on the Wings of Eagles. So family, interesting times. I do want to ask our quote unquote African brothers, that's how they refer to themselves, which I really don't know why they refer to themselves as a continent, as opposed to a unique group of people. But I know maybe because they want to show unity, but that doesn't show unity, because you're not unified with Egypt. You're not unified with Morocco, these places that were conquered and taken over. So we need to identify as Black people, as not only African, but Bantu specific tribes. That's who we need to identify as, because you are the true Israelites of the Bible, whether you believe it or not, whether or not your people taught you this or not. You need to open the book and read it. Okay?
All right, so that's all we have. If you like what we do, please support us at Patreon. That's patreon.com/TEOTW. We have Cash App, which is $TEOTW7101. Minister Yacob.
Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is ending.